Hello everyone! Today we will have a new lesson about programming languages that start with letter O. OXML. OXML is an open-source, dynamically typed, general-purpose, object-oriented programming language based on XML syntax. It has threads, exception handling, regular expressions, and namespaces. Additionally, OXML has an expression language very similar to XPath that allows functions to be invoked on nodes and node sets. OC. OC is a discontinued programming language created by James Gosling in 1991, initially for Sun Microsystems' set-top box project. The language later evolved to become Java. The name oak was used by Gosling after an oak tree that stood outside his office. Oberon. Oberon is a general-purpose programming language first published in 1987 by Nicholas Wirth and the latest member of the Wirthian family of Algol-like languages like Euler, Algol W, Pascal, Modula, and Modula 2. Oberon was the result of a concentrated effort to increase the power of Modula 2, the direct successor of Pascal, and simultaneously to reduce its complexity. Its principal new feature is the concept of type extension of record types. It permits the construction of a new data types on the basis of existing ones and to relate them, deviating from the dogma of strictly static data typing. Type extension is Wirth's way of inheritance reflecting the viewpoint of the parent site. Oberon was developed as part of the implementation of the Oberon operating system at ETH Zurich in Switzerland. The name is from the moon of Uranus, Oberon. Oberon is still maintained by Wirth, and the latest project, Oberon compiler update, is dated March 6, 2020. OBJ2. OBJ2 is a programming language with clear-like parameterized modules and a functional system based on equations. It is a member of the OBJ family of languages. Lisp. Lisp was a computer programming language, a dialect of the Lisp language. It was an object-oriented extension for the Lisp dialect Lisp, Machine Lisp, designed by Lisp Machines Incorporation. Lisp was also an early example of prototype-based programming. It was seen as a competitor to other object-oriented extensions to Lisp at around the same time, such as flavors in use by Symbolics, common objects developed by Hewlett-Packard, and common loops in use by Xerox. Lisp was also used in early versions of Macintosh Common Lisp. There, the user interface toolkit was written using Lisp. ObjectLOGO. Logo is an educational programming language designed in 1967 by Wally Fierze, Seymour Papert, and Cynthia Solomon. Logo is not an acronym. The name was coined by Fierze while he was at both Beranek and Newman and derives from the Greek logos, meaning word or thought. REXX. The ObjectREXX programming language is an object-oriented scripting language initially produced by IBM for the operating system OS/2 and later for Microsoft Windows. It is a follow-on to and a significant extension of the classic REXX language originally created for the Conversational Monitor System or CMS component of the operating system, VMSP, and later ported to multiple virtual storage, MVS, OS/2, and PC-DOS. Object Pascal. Object Pascal is an extension to the programming language Pascal that provides object-oriented programming or OOP features such as classes and methods. The language was originally developed by Apple Computer as Pascal for the Lisa Workshop development system. As Lisa gave way to Macintosh, Apple collaborated with Nicholas Wirth, the author of Pascal, to develop an officially standardized version of Pascal. This was renamed Object Pascal through the mid-1980s. Object Pascal was the main programming language for early versions of the Mac App Application Framework. The language lost its place as the main development language on the Mac in 1991 with the release of the C++-based Mac App 3.0. Official support ended in 1996. Objective-C. Objective-C is a general-purpose object-oriented programming language that adds Smalltalk-style messaging to the C programming language. It was the main programming language supported by Apple for Mac OS, iOS, and the respective application programming interfaces or APIs, Cocoa and Cocoa Touch, until the introduction of Swift in 2014. The language was originally developed in the early 1980s. It was later selected as the main language used by NeXT for its Next Step operating system, from which macOS and iOS are derived. Portable Objective-C programs that do not use Apple libraries or those using ports that may be ported or re-implemented for other systems can also be compiled for any system supported by GNU Compiler Collection or GCC or CLang. Objective-J. Objective-J is a programming language developed as part of the Cappuccino web development framework. Its syntax is nearly identical to the Objective-C syntax, and it shares with JavaScript the same relationship that Objective-C has with the C programming language, that of being a strict but small superset, adding traditional inheritance in a Smalltalk or Objective-C style dynamic dispatch. Pure JavaScript, being a prototype-based language, already has a notion of object orientation and inheritance, that Objective-J adds the use of class-based programming to JavaScript. Obliq. Obliq is an interpreted object-oriented programming language designed to make distributed and locally multi-threaded computing simpler and easier to program, while providing program safety and an implicit type system. The interpreter is written in Modula 3 and provides Obliq with full access to Modula 3's network objects abilities. A type inference algorithm for record concatenation, subtyping, and recursive types has been developed for Obliq. OCaml. OCaml, former Objective-Caml, is a general-purpose multi-paradigm programming language which extends the Caml dialect of ML with object-oriented features. OCaml was created in 1996 by Xavier Leroy, Jerome Villon, Damian Rodriguez, Didier Remy, Askander Suarez, and others. The acronym CAML originally stood for Categorical Abstract Machine Language, but OCaml omits this abstract machine. OCaml is a free and open source software project managed and principally maintained by the French Institute for Research in Computer Science and Automation, or INRIA. In the early 2000s, elements from OCaml were adopted by many languages, notably F# and Scala. OCaml. OCaml is a programming language which is concurrent and builds on the communicating sequential processes (CSP) process algebra and shares many of its features. It is named after philosopher William of Ockham, after whom Occam's razor is named. OCaml is an imperative procedural language such as Pascal. It was developed by David May and others at Inmos, trademark Inmos, advised by Tony Hoare as the native programming language for their transputer microprocessors, but implementation for other platforms are available. The most widely known version is OCaml2. Its programming manual was written by Stephen Erickson Zenit and others at Inmos. OCaml. In computer science, OccamPy is the name of a variant of the programming language Occam, developed by the Kent Rechargeable Occam Compiler, or KROC, team at the University of Kent. The name reflects the introduction of elements of pi calculus into Occam, especially concepts involving mobile agents or processes and data. Octave. GNU Octave is software featuring a high-level programming language primarily intended for numerical computations. Octave helps in solving linear and nonlinear problems numerically and for performing other numerical experiments using a language that is mostly compatible with MATLAB. It may also be used as a batch-oriented language. Since it is part of the GNU project, it is free software under the terms of the GNU General Public License. Other free alternatives to MATLAB include Scilab and FreeMat. Octave is more compatible with MATLAB than Scilab is, and FreeMat has not been updated since June 2013. OmniMark. OmniMark is a fourth-generation programming language used mostly in publishing industry. It is currently a proprietary software product of Stilo International. As of September 2018, the most recent release of OmniMark was 10.1.2 dated April 2016. OmniMark was originally created in the 1980s by Exoterica, a Canadian software company, as a HTML processing program called Extra. Extra was later renamed OmniMark, and Exoterica became OmniMark Technologies. The current owners of OmniMark, Stilo International, have their main offices in the UK, but also maintain an office in Canada. In 1999, OmniMark President and CEO John McFadden announced that OmniMark 5 would be available free of charge to better compete with Perl. OmniMark is no longer distributed under such a model. OPA. OPA is an open-source programming language for developing scalable web applications. It can be used for both client-side and server-side scripting, where complete programs are written in OPA and subsequently compiled to Node.js on the server and JavaScript on the client, with the compiler automating all communication between the OPA. OPA implements strong, static typing, which can be helpful in protecting against security issues such as SQL injections and cross-site scripting attacks. OPAL. OPAL or Optimized Applicative Language is a functional programming language first developed at the Technical University of Berlin. OpenCL. OpenCL or Open Computing Language is a framework for writing programs that execute across heterogeneous platforms consisting of central processing units or CPUs, graphics processing units or GPU, digital signal processors or DSPs, field programmable gate arrays or FPGAs, and other processors or hardware accelerators. OpenCL specifies programming languages based on C99 and C++11 for programming these devices and application programming interfaces or API to control the platform and execute programs on the compute devices. OpenCL provides a standard interface for parallel computing using task and database parallelism. OpenCL is an open standard maintained by the nonprofit technology consortium Kronos Group. OpenEdge ABL. OpenEdge Advanced Business Language or OpenEdge ABL for short is a business application development language created and maintained by Progress Software Corporation or PSC. The language, typically classified as a fourth-generation programming language, uses an English-like syntax to simplify software development. The language was called Progress or Progress 4GL up until version 9, but in 2006 PSC changed the name to OpenEdge Advanced Business Language or OpenEdge ABL in order to overcome a presumed industry perception that 4GLs were less capable than other languages. A subset of the language called SpeedScript is used in the development of web applications. OPL. Open Programming Language or OPL is an embedded programming language for portable devices that run the Symbian operating system. The language was originally called Organizer Programming Language, developed by Pigeon for the Pigeon Organizer, designed by Colly Myers with the first iteration implemented by Richard Harrison and Martin Stump. OpenVera. OpenVera was a hardware verification language developed by System Science and acquired by Synopsys. OpenVera was an interoperable open hardware verification language for test bench creation. The OpenVera language was used as the basis for the advanced verification features in the IEEE 1800 System Verilog standard for the benefit of the entire verification community, including companies in the semiconductor systems, IP, and EDA industries, along with verification services. The OpenVera Language Reference Manual or LRM can be obtained at no cost, but modifications to the language must go through Synopsys. OPS5. OPS5 is a rule-based or production system computer language notable as the first such language to be used in a successful expert system, the R1X system used to configure box computers. The OPS said to be short for Official Production System. Family was developed in the late 1970s by Charles Forgiewell at the Carnegie Mellon University. OptimJ. OptimJ is an extension for Java with language support for writing optimization models and abstractions for bulk data processing. The extensions in the proprietary product implementing the extensions were developed by Ateji which went out of business in September 2011. OptimJ aims at providing a clear and concise algebraic notation for optimization modeling, removing compatibility barriers between optimization modeling and application programming tools, and bringing software engineering techniques such as object orientation and modern IDE support to optimization experts. ORC. ORC is a concurrent non-deterministic computer programming language created by Jayadev Misra at the University of Texas at Austin. ORC provides uniform access to computational services, including distributed communication and data manipulation through sites. Using four simple concurrency primitives, the programmer orchestrates the invocation of sites to achieve a goal while managing timeouts, priorities, and failures. Orca Modula 2. Orca Modula 2 is a Modula 2 compiler written in the Modula 2 programming language for the Apple IIGS computer. It was developed by Peter Eastdown during 1993 to 1994 and published by the ByteWorks. Whilst originally developed separately, when it was finally published, it was fully integrated with the development platform or environment called the Apple Programmers Workshop or ORCA-M. Oriel. Oriel is a scripting language released with the Power Tool series of instructional books written by the Liebland Group, described in its documentation as a graphics-based batch language. It was originally designed for Microsoft Windows 3.0 and released with the book Windows 3 Power Tools in 1991. However, versions of the language were also bundled with Windows 3.1 Power Tools in 1992 and Windows NT Power Tools in 1994. The suggested extension for an Oriel script file was ORL. Oriel was distributed with two executables, Oriel.exe and mkrunteam.exe. The former was the Oriel interpreter, which when invoked would prompt the user to choose a script file for execution. The latter gave the user the ability to create custom executables by bundling a script within a copy of the interpreter. The language was named after the Oriel style of a window. A window of that style is depicted in the icon distributed with the runtime. Orwell. Orwell is a small, lazy evaluation functional programming language implemented principally by Martin Raskowski and first released in 1984 by Philip Wadler during his time as a research fellow in the Programming Research Group, part of the Oxford University Computing Laboratory. Developed as a free alternative to Miranda, it was a forerunner of Pascal and was one of the first programming languages to support Lisp comprehensions and pattern matching. The name is a tribute to George Orwell's novel 1984, the year in which the programming language was released. In the late 1980s and the 1990s, most of the computing practical assignments for undergraduates studying for a degree in mathematics and computation at Oxford University were required to be completed using the language. Oxygene. Oxygene, formerly known as Chrome, is a programming language developed by Rema Object Software for Microsoft's Common Language Infrastructure, the Java platform, and Cocoa. Oxygene based on Delphi's object Pascal, but also has influences from C#, Eiffel, Java, F#, and other languages. Pause. OS is a multi-paradigm programming language developed in the Programming Systems Lab at University Catholic de Louvain for programming language education. It has a canonical textbook, concepts, techniques, and models of computer programming. OS was first designed by Gerd Smolka and his students in 1991. In 1996, development of OS continued in cooperation with the research group of Seif Hariri and Peter Van Roy at the Swedish Institute of Computer Science. Since 1999, OS has been continually developed by an international group, the Mozart Consortium, which originally consisted of Saarland University, the Swedish Institute of Computer Science, and the University Catholic de Leuven. In 2005, the responsibility for managing Mozart development was transferred to Core Group, the Mozart board, with the express purpose of opening Mozart development to a larger community. That's all for the discussion of programming languages that start with letter O. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.